What's going on? Okay, so in our last video we made a blade bait out of a pop can, and we are gonna do the same thing today. We're gonna do the same thing today, kind of the repurposing like everyday items. So today we have a cork from a champagne bottle and we're gonna be making it into a frog lure. So this is like wider than I would want like my frog lure to be, because like you see this one, it's, you know, comparatively thinner, and so that's what I want. I want something like a little bit thinner, like not too like kind of narrow. So that's what I'm gonna go for. So we have that, have the top of it, and I'm one who's always like, you know what, I'll just eyeball it and it'll be good enough. That didn't really work out in the last video because I gotta remake that lure and be a little more careful, but you know what, it'll work. We can get this to work. So I'm just gonna take the top and I'm gonna thin it out a little bit. So that looks good. And next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of like make this nose part. And why we're gonna do that is when you have a topwater frog like this, the traditional way of working it is called like walking the dog. And so it goes like that, and you go on slack line and it goes back and forth like that. And so we're gonna take and we're gonna like, I'm just gonna cut at angles and we're gonna make it more conical. Okay. And like everything in life, eyeball it, then send it. Alright, so now that we've taken and we've cut, like narrowed this down, as you can see, so this is a little bit of how it's gonna look from the top. We're gonna take and we're gonna sand off these sharp edges here. And then one thing that we need to do is we also need to, I started a little bit, we need to take this and round it up more. By rounding this up, it's just gonna be easier to where we can, when you're working it, it'll walk a lot easier. Then we're gonna sand this down a bit. So basically, it's gonna do a lot of sanding again. Seems to be the theme of the videos. Alright, so let's just get after it. Alright, welcome back. I got it all, I think I got it sanded out how I want it. Rounded off all of the sharp edges. And so now what we're gonna do is we're going to place it on its back, because this will be the belly. This is what the fish will see. And you're gonna take your handy dandy hacksaw and we're gonna cut a slit right down the middle. Okay, now it's important to get this one centered, because if you don't, that can like really mess you up. So really get it eyeballed. Like, I think you want to be careful when you're cutting this, because you don't want to split it, you don't want to cut it in half, because then all of your hard work is gone. It's gone. So we got our cut down the center. So now you're going to take your sandpaper and we're just going to make that cut wider. So we can just slide that hook right in. You know, in theory, in my mind this works, but you know, so we can just slide that hook right in, because if you put too much pressure on it, this cork is just gonna crack. And you gotta be careful too, because I don't know if you can see that, I can squeeze it. There's not much like on the back here keeping all this cork together. So I think I did it this way before. Okay, so I got the hook situated. It's kind of angled downwards. I guess it's not a super big deal, but I got more of the hook exposed like I wanted. And then I got this front end up here how I wanted it as well. I guess I didn't need the big slot up here, but that's okay. Now what we're gonna do is add super glue. We're gonna do the super glue. Here, there we go. It fell. It fell. It's fine. Alright. When you got your hook positioned how you know, maybe kind of want it. If it's good enough, you're just gonna fill that puppy up with super glue. And one thing about cork, you know, it's very buoyant. And so one thing to keep in mind, it's buoyant and it's light. So I guess that's something to keep in mind for you. And we're actually gonna take some of that some of this sawdust, and we're gonna sprinkle and pack that in a bit. Alright, so something I thought about is, you know, what are we gonna have in the back here? Because, you know, traditional frogs, they got the two silicone, they got the two silicone skirts dangling back there. So I was like, you know, what can we do? I think the hookup ratio on this is gonna be difficult, to say the least. So what do we put on the back here to add a little more action, add a little something, you know? So I thought, you know, maybe I could do 2 feathers coming out of both sides of that, because that'd be like legs. And I was like, I don't know about that one. Taking a marabou feather and just stick it in the back there. So I already drilled like a little bit of a hole back there. I'm just gonna test the fit, then we're just gonna super glue it in. Oh. Oopsies. And I think it's gonna do a lot for it. I think it's gonna give it. I think that's gonna be. Let's be real. I'd eat it. Okay. Next thing that we gotta do is, I like to throw my Topwater on a lot of heavier gear. So I think one thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a weight to the back of this. I haven't thought out how to do this yet. Oh. So maybe I should have put this in before I glued. Oh well, what can you do? Alright y'all, I might be a genius here, but so what I did is I took a big drill bit and I just made a circle and went up, and you know what, this super glue and cork is strong. It didn't even mess with anything with me drilling around and, you know, routing it out. And then for that weight, I went and took the vise and I clamped down on it like a son of a gun, and I flattened out that lead bullet weight. And it fits perfectly in there, and it's flush. And now all we gotta do is apply pretty liberal doses of super glue. Take that out, grab your super glue. You know, this is gonna add extra hold for that hook in there too. Just gonna get it all super glued. Get it right in there. Get it nice, flush, and even. And then I'm gonna take super glue and I'm gonna super glue over top of it too. Kind of filling up anything that I see. So, super glue this up a little bit again too. And as long as I have that super glued in, I'm gonna put a little dab of super glue right at that hole that we're gonna put our feather in. Oh, my feather. Oh gosh, maybe this isn't a good idea. Feathers, super glue. What are you doing with your life, Wyatt? Alright, I'm just gonna put the quill of that feather, just smash it on in there. As far as you can. Ooh, gosh. Ooh, golly. Oh no. Alright. I got that super glued in, so I'm just gonna let's clamp this in my vise until all of that super glue dries. Look at that. Isn't she pretty? So we're gonna let that dry. I'm gonna work on that blade bait while that dries. Alright, since we couldn't flip and go out and fish with this yet, too cold, everything's flooded, what a pain in the butt. We're just gonna go ahead and paint it, whatever. It'll be fine. I'm just gonna paint this whole thing white, and then I kinda got a cool idea for what to do next. So I don't do anything fancy for paint. I just got acrylic paint and a little brush here. So we're gonna do some brushy brush action. How's that look? Lighter? Ah, looks good. Alright. Oh, this brush was a little stiff. Oopsies. Oopsies. Good enough though. We have some black paint, we have a paintbrush, but we also have a straw, so we're gonna do like a splatter effect, so we'll see how this works. I've done it before with a fishing lure, but we'll see for here. So you kind of need like a good bit of paint, and I set down some newspaper so I don't get everything all splattery. And here we go. Oh, I don't know if you can see that, but that's pretty cool. I didn't want like the belly like too splattered, just a little bit to kind of break up the pattern. And you know, most paint jobs are to catch the fisherman and not the fish. So we're just gonna take our little vise and we are going to just let that dry for I don't know, like 10 minutes before we go and put a coating on it. So we'll see you then. What you're gonna do is you're gonna get a cup, and then for my clear coat, I like to use like 5 minute or like 15 minute. This one's 15 minute, but I like to use epoxy for clear coats. Works really well. You can get like the tubes of epoxy at Walmart, and then you just do an even mix of it. So, and then I like to use these little foam brushes. You can use like just like little cheap paint brushes, and those work just as well. And I'm gonna kind of get this out of the way a bit, and you just brush that on. I'm just gonna give you a protective coating. It's gonna protect that paint job that you worked so hard on. And then it's also gonna seal this whole thing so it's not gonna, you know, take on water. I'm gonna have to mix up a lot more. Oh shoot. You know, and it would probably be best if you do the tail on later. Oh crap. Whatever, you live and you learn. This is definitely not something that I've done before, making this out of cork, but one sec, we're gonna mix up some more. With the paint, the next step is just letting it dry. So I'm just gonna take it and I'm gonna put it right back in the clamp. Oh, I'm gonna put it like so.